So, in the last 4 years of me playing the game, there have been two ships that I kind of looked at being weird, and that was the Nestor until, well, up until the Nestor became one of the most ridiculous ships in the game. And the second ship is the Venture 4. Now, the Venture 4 is the only version 4 ship that we have, and I don't know if they'll add more ships like the Venture 4. Maybe, I mean, talking about maybe Covertor 3, Covertor 4, a fourth version of some of the ships that we already have. And I feel like they kind of overdone it with the Venture. Now, I know that the ship is kind of meant to be the Endurance or the Prospect, although it doesn't have any cloaky capabilities. And that's one of the things that I also want to talk about today. One of the things that they can improve on these ships. Now, when we look at the trade description of this little boat, well, it's nothing spectacular. Basically does have some stabs. The laser mining bonus is nice though, and the scan resolution can be quite interesting. Now, it does kind of have that, well, it kind of looks like it was meant to be used with a cloak, but it can't really. Well, you can fit a cloak on it, but no cover-tops cloak. And I also love how there's a Sister of Eve insignia on the back of the ship. Very interesting little detail there. So there's a good chance that the ship might have a cloak, might get a cover-tops cloaking capability down the road. Now, this ship can use the normal mining lasers, and you can take a look at their stats as well. I mean, I think they're okay for a small ship like this, and we'll definitely see how that will perform when I'm actually mining with it. In the medium slots, I have a scrambler and a web, although in the medium slots, honestly, you can use scanners. I think scanners would be a much better choice, and I'll definitely show that down the road, because at time of me recording this I actually forgot to to put scanners into the Venture. It has some mining rigs, and you might be wondering, well, what are these missile rigs doing on the ship? I'll come to that in a moment, but for the mining rigs you can basically increase the cycle of the lasers, or you can increase the cycle and the amount of stuff that you can mine, basically. And there's a interesting increase there. Now I have, well, I think this is one of my older ventures that I have here. One of the previous videos that I've done a long time ago was a bait PvP venture. That's where the rigs came from. But you can, I mean, if you do plan to use weapons on this thing, or if you plan to bait with the venture, missiles are kind of the universal weapon, I would say. But you can use any weapon system that you want. I mean, there is no limit to what you can use on this ship. You can use cannons, missiles, lasers, I mean, anything basically that you have skills for. I just prefer to use medium rapids because they seem to have the overall average best performance that I have seen, most consistent performance that I have seen. But I'll be using this ship for mining today, so it's not going to be a combat venture, but you also have a lot of different builds with extenders, and of course with damage control. I mean, this thing is quite interesting for PvP. It can do that job really well. But today we will be doing some mining, and I'll slap a cloaking device. Now, the cloaking device is interesting because it does work, but it's not a cover-tops cloak. And this ship does miss a extra low slot, I would say. So the fact that you have Venture 2, Venture 3, which is much cheaper than this thing, and I think the difference isn't that big between the 3 and 4, but the price difference is quite different between the version 3 and version 4 of the Venture. It definitely doesn't seem to be worth the ISK from what I'm seeing here. I mean, you can get this ship if you want, and you can fly it, but the Venture 3 is just much cheaper and basically does the same thing with a little bit less mining performance. So I mean that's just what I can tell from the skills that from the bonuses that we have on these ships. But if the developers do end up buffing the Venture 4, and if they end up giving the ship a fourth slot, it would definitely be very interesting. Now, when it comes to nanocores, you have a couple options. You have some purple cores that surprisingly give strip mining bonuses. Alright, well, I'm fairly sure you can't fit strip miners on the Venture 4. Maybe that is foreshadowing something that will happen down the road. Who knows? Maybe. I mean, I have noticed that there are some very funny bonuses on some nanocores that became that started to make sense with some of the new changes that have been made. So maybe the Venture will be able to fit the strip miners. If that ever happens, that's going to be just hilarious. Would make these little boats quite the interesting thing to fly around. But yeah, obviously, you can't fit a strip miner on this thing. You're only limited to the normal mining lasers, which honestly, I mean, they're not that bad. They definitely seem to work really well on paper, but we'll have to see that in action, because it's one thing to look on paper and a complete other thing to actually pull it off in space. Now, welcome to Cobalt Edge, where I have been lurking around, testing things out lately. And this is where my brain basically went into a rabbit hole of what if. Basically, I've been thinking to myself, well, if the ship had a cloaking device, well, if it had covertops cloaking capabilities, and if it had a fourth low slot, it would actually be a pretty interesting little boat for Wormhole space, and would definitely be a very interesting ship for unknown space exploration in general. I mean, technically, you can kind of do exploration with the Venture quite easily even now. It doesn't have to be the version 4 or doesn't have to be the version 3 actually, but you have these compressed belts all over the game. They're very very common, and I have a couple friends that do mining, and some of them told me that they actually like to go and check these compressed belts out. I've been told that they can give some decent ISK output, and that they're basically chill, that no one really ever interrupted them inside. Now I know that when you enter that space, it's basically like entering null space. You can get killed inside. Basically, it's dangerous to go in, but at the same time, it is limited by ship size, so you can't really get jumped by a battleship if it only allows frigates to enter. So I've been told that they can be some very interesting, I guess, things. They can offer some very interesting things to do in the game, if you like mining, of course, and does kind of add a bit more to that exploration aspect. Although personally, I haven't really went in one. I went into one compressed belt site to kill a ship, but never really mined it myself. So I can just say what I've been told, and I've been told that it can be quite fun and interesting. So this is one of the purpose that these little ships can fulfill, and one of the, I guess, roles that they can do. However, I would say wormhole stuff is going to be much more interesting, at least for me it's much more interesting. Although I guess if you prefer to go through the compressed belts, you can do that. But if I were to do some mining, I would definitely try to get something quite cheap through a wormhole and basically mine into Cobalt Edge with a very cheap ship. I mean, it's interesting because you might be able to get some good loot and good isk out of the Cold Edge region. I mean, from what I've seen and from what I've been told, it's kind of a mixed response to my question that I had. On one hand, I have players telling me that they like it and that works really well. At the other hand, I have also players telling me that it's not that good. So I guess it's down to personal preference, maybe. I mean, again, it's not really a competition who can make more isk. I guess if you're fine with what you're getting, I guess, then I guess it's fine. If not, well, then I guess it's not. But any isk is good isk, and maybe my alt will have something new to do. I have no idea. Although my alt doesn't really have any industrial. Well, actually, I have to double check that. I know my main account has a bunch of industrial stuff to do. My alt, I think, doesn't. We'll have to check that out when I have enough time to play around with the alt account. But so far, I mean, so far. Okay, my apologies for the weird cuts. I accidentally turned off the recorder and, well, hopefully I didn't lose the previous voice recording. Anyway, what was I talking about? I completely forgot. Well, never mind. Oh yeah, I was talking about the Venture 4 requiring a extra low slot and requiring some extra skill per level stats. Now, I think the only thing that this ship needs is, well, extra low slot and cloak. Because if this ship's purpose was to be a cloaky miner, well, then that's, I think, the only logical thing that has to be added to this ship. Now, fun fact, mining is much more enjoyable with some music on. Of course, I'll have to mute the music outputs if I don't want to get copyright strike. But yeah, mining is much more enjoyable with some music on. I mean, personally, obviously, I'm not someone who is mining around, but I kind of see why players like this activity. It is quite interesting, honestly. I mean, in one way, it is interesting if you are into it, but from my perspective, I don't know. Maybe I'll start mining. I have no idea. I mean, yeah, if you see me mining around, you know that it's the end of the world. That's just what I'm telling you from the start here. So, it didn't seem like I mined a lot. I mean, this is a frigate, and if you are, I guess if you're used to seeing big ISK numbers in the wallets, this ship might feel, in a way, like it's underperforming. Although again, I was flying the Rorqual and the Orca, both of which are kind of big ships, and of course, big ships will be mining a lot more than small ships. However, I was also trying to figure out, well, if that's the case, what's the advantage of a small Venture 4? Now again, I couldn't really. I'm trying to justify the Venture 4's performance, and unfortunately, I kind of struggle to find, I guess, good mining aspects of this ship. I mean, a Venture 2 and a Venture 3 will probably give you about the same result. Venture 2 or Venture 3 costs 100 times more, like literally. Venture 4 costs about 400 million on the market, I believe. Venture 3 is 20 or 13 million, something like that, maybe even less than that. So the previous two ventures are much cheaper, and you definitely will not be feeling anything if you end up losing them. Losing this ship, I mean, it's still not that much, honestly. It costs much less than a faction frigate or faction cruiser, but it is not a cheap ship, obviously. So that brings the question, well, if it is so expensive, then, what is justifying the price? And the answer to that is, well, I don't really see any justification in how much it costs. It is definitely a better mining ship than the previous ones on paper, but is it really, you know, a justified mining ship? I mean, if you like the ship, you go and fly it. That's if you like to fly it, then I guess it's good. But I don't know. How much is a Covetor 1? I think Covetor 1 is very close to the price of the Venture 4 on the market, and the Covetor mines much more than the Venture. Now, I guess the main advantage of the ship is the small size and speed. I mean, it's not a slow ship, it's a fast one, definitely stealthy as well. Definitely, it has all the advantages that a small ship has, right? So it is not completely, oh, I don't like this ship. I do like the speed, the stealth, and the overall maneuverability. But I feel like the thing that's most important for this ship is missing, and that is basically cloak. I mean, if this is meant to be used in hostile space, right? Well, then it needs to be prepared to go into hostile space, and has to be able to go in and come out in one piece. It can do that if you are, if you know what you're doing. But if it had a cloak, it would 100% fulfill the role really well. And that's what's kind of taking my boxes here, basically, is the fact that this ship doesn't have a Covertop's cloak ability. I mean, we can ignore the fact that it doesn't have a fourth low slot, right? I mean, if it had a Covertop's cloak, then I wouldn't really be... Would still kind of suck not to have a fourth low slot, But I would be able to fulfill the ship's role much easier. So, doesn't have to have 4 low slots, but having a extra skill parallel bonus would definitely do the ship would definitely work on the ship much better than what it is at the moment. Now again, I might sound way too critical for this little boat, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I did fly the ship before with a PvP aspect, with a PvP approach, and I liked it. I mean, it's a very interesting ship. It is honestly a very interesting ship that is usable. You can fly it. It's not like the tier 1 or tier 2 Rifter, I believe. Yeah, those things. You can fly them as well, but you are not going to be able to do much with these ships, right? But with this ship, it's it's not that it's useless. It's that it is just underperforming, and it's not really what it should be, and that's what basically kind of what I'm feeling that it's missing. This little boat is honestly quite interesting, but because of the lack of skill bonuses, the lack of specialization, I guess, makes it feel like a more expensive Venture 3 or Venture 2. That's what the Venture 4 feels like at the moment. Now, when it comes to PvP, yeah, when it comes to PvP, this little boat can actually do really well. In some cases better than the Venture 3 when it comes to performance. But when it comes to mining, the previous Ventures seem to be performing almost on an equal footing with the Venture 4. And despite that, I actually seen quite a bit of these ships floating around. And also I'm quite happy to see the Venture 4 floating around. It's not like I don't like the ship. I mean, I already said that I like the ship. It's just it's missing. It's missing some things, and if those things that are missing are added, this would definitely be a very interesting little boat for sure. Would be one of the more, I would say, one of the more interesting choices when it comes to wormhole stuff. One of the more interesting choices when it comes to mining in dangerous and hostile space. Even in normal null, the ship would definitely see a wider use, and a lot more players would go with the Venture 4 if the ship had some, let's say, special traits going on only for it, and if it had something unique that the other Ventures don't have. That's the thing that this ship is missing, and that's also the thing that some other ships are missing. It's kind of a problem that the vast majority of ships have at the moment. Not all of them, but you know, there's a bunch of ships that kind of need specialization in order for them to stand out. Maybe the word that I should be using is standing out, not to be, you know, better or worse, but standing out from the rest. I think that's the more accurate word that I should be using. But you know, I corrected myself right about the end of the video. Well, better late than never, I guess. Now, just for a little comparison, how much did the Oracle mine? Now, of course, the price here is totally different from the real price. The price here is odd, but it should be close to the actual price. After all, the estimates here are based on the estimates on the live server, but you know, it's still fun to see the difference. Now, the Oracle, very big ship, very risky, but technically, in theory, mining a lot and can technically bring a lot of stuff, a lot of materials, ore, and you know, stuff like that. Then you have the Orca, which is, you know, still risky to fly, but it is a smaller ship, and it definitely much cheaper to lose, although I would still try not to lose it. It did mine much less, but still I would say pretty solid. And then there is the Venture 4. Now, I didn't mine nearly as long as I mined with the previous two ships, and it definitely can do 50% of what Orca did in the same time, so I would say that's not bad. That's definitely not bad. It can do that mining job really well. And I think this is the PvP Venture 4 that I was trying to find. I forgot that I parked it over here. Now I found it. That's basically the Venture 4 that I used for fooling around when I tried to build a PvP Venture 4. That's the thing that I made basically. And honestly, I was quite happy with it. It does do some very interesting DPS. And now on the end of the video, I forgot on the start to do it, but with the Venture 4, if you want to mine around, scanners are, I would say, the most important things. I mean, you have only 2 medium slots anyway, so might as well just use for the scanners. Basically, red scanner to see hostiles, blue scanner to find those mining sites, or perhaps to find some anomalies that you can also mine in. So definitely, you know, has the purpose of it can do this job really well. It just lacks that core tops stuff in order to make this little boat perform similar to the EVE Online counterparts. And well, with that being said, that will be it for the Venture 4 for today, or at least for today. I still have some other plans with this little boat, but if you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.